Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Welcome home, Brains. There's only one requirement to hang out on the edge, is that you open your big brain and close your small mind. Did you bring your thinking caps? It's time to put them on, because the conversation starts now. April Mahoney Brains, it's nice to see you. You've dropped in on our spot, the place where the conversation is pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. And today we're back in Australia with Becky Paroz. I'm so glad to have her here. She is a phenomenal writer, and she has a beautiful quote. She says, "I'd rather die of thirst than to drink from a cup of mediocrity." Nobody wants to be average. We want to be extraordinary, especially at a particular age in our life. You know, we've lived and been reckless in our young years. We've nurtured our family in the middle. As we get to a particular age, 50 and over, it's our time to shine. It's our time to be beautiful, to write, to sing, to work, to laugh, to dance. We're going to talk about all that with Becky and more. Thanks so much, Beck, for being here with us on the edge.
And thank you for having me, April. It's a beautiful day down here in Oz. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic to spend the next hour with you talking about all things us.
Exactly. All things us. So let's talk about how you show up in the world.
Sure. So I have to tell you the short version because so much has happened in my life. I grew up in a very poor childhood, I suppose. Domestic violence, alcohol abuse, drug abuse. You know, my father had me dealing weed out the caravan at the age of 10, kind of thing, to give you an idea of, my life. I think in America you call that kind of the trailer park life, and I don't mean to offend people, but that sort of
It
image
is
that
what
comes
it
with that.
is. What it
I
is.
was
That's,
I was I was living it. So, I kind of don't feel like it's offensive. I was in that sort of space. So I had a real drive to not be that and not be in that, which has, given me an extensive career. So I got into engineering when I finished high school. I wanted to get into university. I was looking for the big bucks to get away from home and kind of be as far from poverty as I could. And that was, I got there. And then the very next year, I got diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis of a very severe and aggressive type. And I'm 18, I'm just getting out of that whole horror sort of circumstance of my childhood. I've just moved out of home to try and escape it all, and this hit. So I was a very angry young woman, to quote a beautiful woman in a movie a long time ago. I was very angry with my father, and then somehow I'd also ended up in engineering. So I was surrounded by all these men who then spent most of my first probably 5 to 10 years in the industry telling me I didn't belong, because we are talking back in the very early 90s, before discrimination acts were a thing and before equality was really a conversation that people were bringing to the table. And so I got told by, the space I chose to be in, that I didn't belong there. I wasn't supposed to be there. And so you can imagine, as a 20 something year old, hearing that from her childhood, um, to, to working in that, there was a lot going on in my brain.
So wait, let me
And
put the
so,
brakes, because I like to kind of interject a little bit so that I can get
mm,
a clearer picture of what's going on. All right. So you were angry with dad. Where was mom?
look, she had been subjected to domestic violence all my life. My first memories are of him beating the crap out of her, which is Aussie for very, very bad violence.
Wow.
So, she kind of disappeared. She lives with me currently. She is still alive. He's not, and I celebrate that fact for her and myself every day. But she'd kind of, by the time I got into any kind of teenage adulthood, she'd pretty much disappeared. She was on medication,
Wow.
and had
Were you the only
significant mental health. No, I have two
you the only
younger
child?
sisters.
Two
I
younger
have two,
sisters?
yeah. Um, they will tell their own story in their own time. We are not on good circumstances between us.
Um,
And some of that's as a
well, I'm
result
gonna
of
ask. I'm gonna
childhood.
ask
And
for a healing in that.
thank
No,
you.
and you know what? And again, if nothing else, but for your own comfort, because, I had a dream about a family member of mine that tormented me
Mm.
mentally. I had a dream last night, actually. And you know what I said in my dream? I said, I forgive you. And that allowed me to forgive me. Because, everybody's got their own journey. And I don't think that it's always
Yeah,
about us. It's about them and how they process stuff. So, good
absolutely.
on
And they
you.
have their journies. So,
And
I
good
wish
on
them the
you
best in that.
to be able to take care of mom. You will get your wings for that because it's
So, well, I need to because I did a lot of stuff in my career in and not childhood, my early adults that had a lot of fun, but yeah, probably needs to offset with some wings.
so. Did
um,
you ever, after you finished school and everything, did you ever find love for yourself? Did you get married and have children?
Um, I couldn't have children. Oh, well, I could have children, I suppose, but with the disease and then the medication they put me on, essentially I'm on immune suppressants, so very similar to chemo that they give to cancer patients, but I'm on it for the rest of my life in a different sort of style of dosage to stop the side effects of the disease, which is actually a benefit to me. It's one of the things I do actually love about Western medicine, is that I do have that opportunity. It allows me to show up and be able to do my job and get paid well and all those things. So it's kept me in my career because I do suffer. I don't suffer, I have a lot of pain.
Mhm.
Occasionally I suffer from it, but then I kind of, smack myself and go, it's just pain, get on with it, eat it for breakfast, just like Chuck Norris.
Exactly. But
Um,
a lot of people don't know what that um, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune disease.
it is,
Think
yes.
that it's cramping and stiffening of the muscles, but they don't understand the intricate work of it and how
Mm.
deep it could go and how severe it could be. It can be, again, like I said, crippling and disabling. So
Well,
again,
yeah.
you've been able to work through that and to be able to sustain a quality of life, which is really good, which is really good.
Thank you. And just on that note, I was actually told at that age, I think 19, when they finally figured out what it was, that I'd be in a wheelchair by the time I was 24. I'd be, probably dead by the time I was 40 because of the rampant effects this disease was having on my body. And so, of course, me being me and, already in a rebellious state in my work, kind of really rebelled against that. And that was probably the defining moment of my life where I kind of went, you know what, I could give up. I can check out. I can, just kind of go, this is my life and use that to achieve less, shall we say? Or I could really just go, you know what? No way. I am going for gold. And this isn't going to stop me any more than anything else in my life has. And that's the path I chose.
Exactly. But you're also a very powerful writer. You're a contributor to WB40, Women Beyond 40, and also Florence magazine. Tell us a little bit about your contributions to those periodicals.
So Florence magazine is actually a new magazine in Australia specifically designed for women in trades, women in building, and women in construction. So, every couple of months they put out a magazine, a new episode, I suppose. And yeah, I write a sort of a mindset short article in that, just kind of about what it's like to be a woman in construction and, you know, sort of trying in some modern things. Like, I tried to do a lot of positive stuff during the C-19 COVID years, just to kind of remind people there is a community out there, even though we might all be feeling isolated. Um, so yeah, so that's a passion project, and then the other one is also a passion project. A beautiful friend of mine, Sandy Lowry's, started this magazine a couple of years ago, and yeah, I just wanted to be really supportive of her dream because she's really addressing that kind of women being invisible beyond 40 and trying to showcase all the amazing stuff that's happening, as you said in your intro, when women kind of get free time after the kids and achieve a certain level in their career and they're looking for me time. Sandy and her magazine Women Beyond 40 really really celebrate that, and so I'm incredibly passionate about supporting that dream for her. So yeah, occasionally I contribute an article to her.
Those are beautiful to be able to write, to be able to verbalize yourself. I tell people all the time, journal. It doesn't have to be this long, uh, thought out process. Just grab a
Mm-hmm.
pencil and piece of paper and connect the brain to the hand. You wouldn't believe what a release that is. But then also how you feel when on the other side, someone is receptive to that. Someone has been able to grab hold and say, wow, I'm feeling this and I'm not alone. And this is some great suggestions. So, again, bravo for doing that. and
Thank
sharing
you.
that work with individuals. So, what would you tell a younger version of yourself if you were about 20 or
Mm.
25? What would you say to yourself?
I'd have quite a bit to say to myself back then, I think. um, but I think, there's lots of pearls of wisdom out there, all the things, but I think the one message that would really resonate is it gets better. It really does. It gets better.
And so how do we start to make it better? What was your aha moment? What was the redesigning of your life where you said, you know what, I'm turning down this noise. This is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. I want to be better. I want to show up a different kind of way.
There was the first one, obviously, with the arthritis. That was the big pop, like I'm not giving in. Then it took me probably about 10 years diving deep into my, psyche, into my brains, into my behaviors, all those thought patterns. God, I did every, Eastern and mystic tradition out there, Reiki, meditation, all of the stuff, acupuncture. I tried everything. I'm pretty sure I literally tried everything. And none of that worked until I started digging into my own brain and the thought patterns when I came across NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And that was probably a really powerful tool for me to understand that a lot of my self talk was actually from my childhood, was actually from my surroundings, that constant, you don't belong here. It was everyone else telling me that. And so when I really broke that down and realized that that is actually completely opposite to what I told myself at 18, is that I do belong here, was probably the next big aha explosion. And so when I kind of realized that, the power of then owning my own journey and realizing that having overcome all of those things was actually a remarkable achievement, let alone still being able-bodied, functioning, able to go to work um, beyond 24, which I was pretty much told was a pipe dream. To be in a fairly high-powered job by then, I'd been, my late 20s, I'd been in management for about 5 years. So and that's quite unusual in a male-dominated environment. If you imagine back then, like we're still talking, late 90s, I was in management in construction, and so that was fairly unusual and a testament to my skill, ability, knowledge, and efforts. And so putting this picture together of, I guess, of who I was without all that childhood language was, it showed me that I was actually quite remarkable.
Absolutely. So you found that self-love and that self-evaluation.
Yes, yeah.
And that's hard for people to do because
Yep.
outside world says, oh, again, the naysayers, you can't, this is, you're not going to be able to do this. The doctors are saying this, well, they're practicing
Oh,
medicine.
yeah.
They're doing the very best that they can. I get
Of
that.
course.
But they do not know your story. And then you have family trauma and all that. So you're
Mm-hmm.
an overcomer, you're a seeker. Where do you see yourself in the next maybe 5 years, 6 years? What are your dreams? What are your goals?
Okay. Yeah, I kind of had to reset them all. So remember I said I wasn't going to live past 40? Or that's what I was told. And so I really bought into that belief. So I spent my 40th birthday in the US traveling around to sort of celebrate that milestone. And so when I got home, I kind of went, wow, I've just made it past that milestone. I've hit everything in my bucket list because I had a deadline, So I'm like, I've done this, I've flown helicopters, I've jumped out of planes. So, I'm cramming it all in. And so I kind of went, oh, okay, now what? So I'm still, and what I love about this is that I'm still making a bucket list every day. Instead of having this deadline and going, just cram it all in and don't take a moment, don't be in the moment, just tick the list.
Right.
So now I don't really have a list. Now I have some goals, but I have the idea of every day ticking something off a bucket list, whether it just be going, today was a good day, or today I had a powerful conversation, or today I'm having a fantastic podcast with April and, talking to women all across the world through the medium of you and your brains, which is fantastic. And so, in terms of goals, because that was a long way to get to this point, I would love to hit a bestseller list.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about writing. I'm working on a book coach deal at the moment with the memoir, and I have an anthology I've had to put on hold, but really want to get back to early in the new year, and at some point have that name and lights recognition, that sort of
Because it's not
achievement.
over. Yeah, but it's not over till it's over. And I tell people to
Absolutely.
dream the impossible dream. I keep telling myself I want to paraglide. And so I
Oh,
think,
lovely.
yeah, and there's a beautiful glider port not too far from my home. So I am going to do that. I don't really necessarily have the need to jump out of a plane. No, but I do want to fly. I
Yeah.
do want to fly. And so I am going to do that and travel the world, be with Mr. Magnificent, but be grateful. Be
Indeed.
grateful for everything and be gracious. Tell people thank you. Say please, may I?
Indeed.
Not be
Acknowledge.
angry because
Mm-hmm.
it's so much weight on you when you are angry. So let's ask some fun things about you, Beck.
Sure.
If you were an appliance in the kitchen of all places, what appliance would you be and why?
I would be the cleaver, the kitchen
Oh
machete,
boy.
the kitchen machete, the weapon you drag out when you need business done and something just sorted.
I love it. You're the first machete I've had.
Yes.
And meat cleaver, I love it. I believe it. I am the air fryer.
Oh, efficient,
Yes.
economical,
And
and healthy. I like it.
it's healthy. Let's say, and it gets the job done. That's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
If you were a flower in the garden, what flower would you be?
Oh, belladonna.
Don't say stinkweed
No,
or
no,
poison
no.
ivy. Don't say that.
Yeah, no, I rate myself higher. Belladonna. Poisonous if you use it the wrong way, beneficial if you use me the right way, but do not mess with me.
All right. Doesn't want to be messed with. If you were an animal, what animal would you be?
Oh, lion.
A
Like top
lion?
of the food chain, lioness, to be perfectly honest, top of the food chain, powerful, protective, but nobody messes with me and my kids.
I love that. I love that. I'd be the party animal.
Oh, well, that would be the second option. Yeah, when I'm not protected, I'm partying. Absolutely.
If you had three magical wishes, what would they be?
Oh, well, cure arthritis for everybody in the world because it's a horrid disease. And I'll take the next two for me. So I'm going to go, you know what? If it's a magic wish, get me on that bestseller list, but make sure it's a good book. Don't just, phone it in. And the third one, mm, you know what? The power for everybody to read and understand how reading books can change their lives.
Yeah, the power of reading, and people don't do that now. Uh,
No.
I I love it when it's cold. When it's cold, I make this wonderful little hot toddy, or I have a bowl of soup or some crackers, and I'll cuddle up with the book. But other than that, I'm into audiobooks because I want the information quick and slick. But there's nothing
Mm-hmm.
like feeling a book and turning the pages and sitting it down and using your imagination. So I encourage that too. I encourage parents to do a lot of reading. Now, you are an avid writer. Let's see a little bit of your work that you have created. Let me see the book that you've written.
Okay. So this is one that was done in Australia, Changemakers. This actually was launched at a very, very particular time in history. International Women's Day, March 8, 2020. And that month should resonate with a lot of people because that was the month the world closed.
Yeah.
So yeah, very timely. This one was very exciting. I'm just going to make sure I get that in the camera. Warrior Queen. It's answering the call of the Morrigan. So this is done by Girl God Anthologies. They do a lot of work in this space, and it's all about, I suppose, telling a story or sort of investigating how, for example, the Morrigan, who is known as a powerful Irish Celtic goddess, shows up in the world for you. So this was a very interesting write for me. I sort of turned the story I told you into mythology. and made it like a fairy tale. Once upon a time, a girl was born. Um, and so that was a really powerful piece of writing for me with that one. I'm very, very proud of that.
I love that cover. That's beautiful.
It is, isn't it? I think one of the artists in the book actually did that cover for them. So you can find that on Amazon. You can find all of these on Amazon. So the first book I ever contributed to that gave me the bug in writing is this one. It's called The Female Leader. Now I'm not actually fond of this cover, but that's one of the downsides of being in the anthology. But you can immediately see sort of the power in it.
Okay. Why is that not you? You don't like a pair of red pumps?
I love a pair of red pumps, but to me, in terms of female leader, I think that really buys into a stereotype that we kind of perpetuate a bit because I'm a leader in boots. I wear steel cap boots every day. So this really doesn't resonate with me as a leader in terms of the image. Plus with the arthritis.
But everybody doesn't have a hard hat and a
Of
machete.
course, absolutely, of course. But with my arthritis, I also can't wear heels. So yeah. So as the first book I was involved in, I yeah, love the energy that comes with it. But it really kind of helped me define my leadership style because that didn't work for me. So that was really
What is your process when you go into that headspace of wanting to write? Where do you go? Do you go to do you do a little meditation before? Do you light some incense? Because I do, put on some music. How do you get your vibe? How do you get in that space?
I'm just pausing because I need to yell. How do I get in the space? I use music. Music is my medium. I was a music tart in my younger years. There wasn't a music concert I didn't attend. So I kind of, check in with what I'm feeling and about the writing I'm doing. So what's the energy of the writing? Am I kind of trying to be powerful? Am I trying to be compassionate? Then I will pick a music list that sort of matches that. And I'll put that on. Usually the first song or two is me just kind of, getting in the vibe and feeling the music. And then I'll just, put my fingers on the keyboard and go. And usually that first sort of outlet is very sensory. It's kind of the passion I want to bring to the story. It's not necessarily exactly what I want to say, but I kind of pour that passion out in that first uh, run, so to speak, to kind of get to where I want to go with the message I'm writing. So, and I feel like I probably do that for most of my writing. I don't think I vary too much. Sometimes I've got a deadline. I'm just going to sit down and make it happen. Usually that involves some sort of rock metal type,
Like get her done.
big
Get her done.
big noise, big energy. That's right. That's right. That get it done. I've got a playlist, right? 50 songs. I've got to do 1,000 words before this is finished.
Exactly.
It's
I
yeah, it's
appreciate that. So what would you tell an inspiring writer? Someone that, wants to put pen to pad, but feels number one, like they don't have anything to say, which is not true. Everybody
mhm.
has a story. But what would you say to an inspiring writer?
Just right. Just start writing, whether it's pen to paper, whether it's typing on a keyboard, whether it's notes on your mobile phone while you're sitting on a train or public transport. Just start pouring uh, your heart out is the only way. Like, I think it was Ray Bradbury who said, writers just basically open a vein and bleed their emotions onto the page. And it's a very powerful thing. So, and the other sort of thing to get really clear is writing is very different to publishing. So for those who get the idea they want to write a book, start with just what you want to write, because the minute you get into publishing, you will disappear down a rabbit hole. There are so many options of self-publishing open up. There are so many sharks in the water that will play to your ego and take your money and promise you the world with your book. You can pay to receive a bestseller status these days. Like, there's so many things going on. It's so overwhelming for someone who wants to step into this space. So don't go down that rabbit hole. Just write. Just start putting words down in some way or other. Find out if you love it. Find out if you want to keep going. Find out if you're actually prepared to commit to it, because every writer will tell you, you don't find time to write, you just make it happen. Because
Right.
life happens around you. We've all got jobs. Writers cannot support themselves these days. Gone are the sort of the big ticket $1 million. That is a very rare occurrence. Um,
And the
in
top
Australia.
three things that a writer should know. I always say, again, like you said, write. But number
Mhm.
two, find a good editor. no matter
Oh,
what,
please. Yes.
no matter how many times you read it. That's not my forte. I pay where I'm weak. But when people
Hmm.
are looking at you in text, there's going to be a certain judgment. Uh,
There is. Yes.
I grew up dyslexic, so I
Hmm.
know that there's still a challenge there. So I need to have somebody dot my I's, cross my T's. And also, if you publish a book to sell, cotton pick and sell it. If you give it away, it becomes a pamphlet. If
Hmm.
someone purchases it, now it's an investment. They are going to read it. They have some skin in the game.
That is very, very true.
You go ahead on, these big box online publishing companies or retailers, you really lose a lot of your revenue.
Yep.
So
That
have online book signings, republish your book, repurpose your book. It's brand new to the person who's never read it. Correct, Beck?
that's absolutely, absolutely. And I think on that too, find your audience because your family, your friends, disappointingly so,
Yeah.
will not be your audience. And that's not because they don't love you, it's just because you are not necessarily going to hit the beats that resonates with them. So
Right.
find your audience and do that while you're exploring your whole publishing genre and title and content, and actually share that journey to find your audience. It's one of the best ways to build up that sort of marketing because, when you write these days, you can't just write and, be obscure and never see anyone, sort of the way Stephen King used to, and still be popular and famous and well known. That's
Absolutely.
just, those days are gone. You have to market, you have to be able to pitch, and when you're a writer, you have to be very introverted. So these things can really set you off and put you back and stop you from really getting that story that you want to tell out. So tell the story first, then work your way through the process of getting it out into the world and ask lots of questions. Just really, really get informed. Or and something I do is book coach, and there's a rise in book coaching because there's so many scams and sharks and so many ways to lose your money in this game. But equally, there's so many issues in the game. Like with the rise of AI, there's books that robots are writing, and my thing with that is you can use it to help you can use it to generate ideas, yes, but it can't put soul and emotion into words. It can only regurgitate what it's been taught. So bring your own passion to your own words. Have faith that someone will read it if that's what you need to get you to the end. But mostly believe in yourself that you have, as you started this conversation, a story to tell and it's worth going through the process.
Absolutely.
Um,
And it's
yeah,
so
and if you
liberating, it's so freeing, and you're leaving a legacy, brains. I worked in the recording industry, television, film, books. These things will go on for generations. I mean, we're still looking at I Love Lucy, and we're still reading I Know Why
absolutely,
the Caged Bird Sings. These
how
people
many
have
times have
long
we
gone
replayed how many times have we replayed MASH on our televisions across the world because it just hits that popular no matter what era? Yeah, Faulty Towers is another one for your UK audience. That there was so few episodes in that, and yet it gets replayed so often because we love what we love, and so yeah,
and it
there will
holds
be a
up
legacy.
and it resonates because some of the things that's on television right now and some of the songs, I don't
Mhm.
know how these people are making money with all this profanity and they don't even play music now. It's synthesized. What happened to playing the actual guitar, the piano? What's doing that? Connecting with the brain. But you have
Well,
been
and
such
yeah,
a
thank you.
wealth of information. I appreciate you so much. Tell my brains how to get in contact with you, how they can purchase a copy of one of the books, and even consult you as a book coach or a mentor because you are a strong lion with a meat cleaver.
That's right. I will teach you to believe in yourself when no one else does, least of all you. So, best way to contact me, there we are. Words of Beck, BEK. That is my Instagram handle. You will find that as my personal anthology on Amazon and Smashwords. Excuse me. You'll find me on my author page on Facebook at Words of Beck, or um, all the W's, wordsofbeck.com.au, because I am in Australia. And yeah, I'd love to receive connections. I'd love to receive any kind of feedback. Certainly all writers love reviews on their books too. So if you do read it, please do reach out and let me know. And yeah, I love the connections through the social media because I am very busy in my personal life with my full-time role. It gives me a chance to reply to you, particularly if you're around the world, in a more appropriate time. So send me a message. You want to say hi, you want to compliment my book, or you want to talk to me about coaching and mentoring in the writing space or the women in construction space. I'd love to hear from.
Well, ladies, I need you to build on what she has put down and pour down as a foundation. If you are looking, again, to just express yourself, you may not have aspirations of being a number one bestseller, which you should, because I want you to dream big. But if you don't, uh, structure, design, editing, what the process looks like. This might be a children's book that you want to do and incorporate something with your children. You never know where this will lead to. Everybody has an incredible story. It's just a story that needs to be told. Thank you so much, Beck, for being here on the edge with me and my brains. Brains, I need you to do something for me. I need you to go in and subscribe. Love, like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. If you think this is great, great. If you don't think it's great, leave me a comment so that I can improve it. I can be better as long as you're kind. There it is. Thank you so much, Beck. I look forward to other great edgy conversations and books coming from you. You're the best.
Thank you so much, April. It's been fabulous.
All right. Bye, brains.